Today we're going to talk about Justin Bieber, chair races, and fart jokes. Yeah, that's pretty much anything that a sixth grade would probably be interested in. Plus, this guy, is anybody else freaked out that he's kind of staring at the top of my head? Ooh, that's kind of scary. Well, anyway, I'm coming to you from my illustrious and beautiful kitchen, and I know you are all just so impressed by this beautiful wallpaper. Ooh. No, you're not. No, nobody is, because it's horrible looking wallpaper. Yeah, not my choice, but it will probably be changing soon, hopefully. Anyway, let's get down to business and start talking about the things that I said about. Oh, we're going to talk about Justin Bieber. Oh, you didn't think about that in social studies, huh? We're going to talk about chair races and fart jokes. Yeah, sounds like fun, doesn't it? But it's all tied into Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia, you may ask? What do fart jokes have to do with Mesopotamia? Oh, my friend, just wait, you will find out, and it'll be great. It'll be great fun. All right, so we're talking about Mesopotamia, and last week we had talked a little bit about the geography of Mesopotamia, how it was a desert-like area, and didn't seem like, from what we had made inferences about, as the best place in the world for a civilization to really kind of settle. Why? Well, when we think of desert, we think of hot, dry conditions where nothing is able to live. Because remember, as humans, we need certain things to live. We need food, water, shelter, warmth, things like that. Very important stuff. Now, humans, we all seem to think of ourselves as being extremely special, okay? But we're not the only species in the world that need those things. And other animals need food and water and things like that. Even plants need food and water. And all of those things tend to be near where those things are. And people are no different. So you're probably asking yourself, okay, if Mesopotamia was a desert-like area, why were people going there? Well, it's because there were two rivers there. We talked about the Indus River Valley, and it had kind of the same climate. And the Harappan civilization had settled near that Indus River Valley because they had water there, and also because it flooded and left that very, very fertile soil, mud, goopy stuff called silt, and it was very easy to grow things there. And this was a lot around the time when people were transitioning from hunter-gatherers to farmers, and the agricultural revolution and all that stuff. Now, while that was going on in the Indus River Valley, to the west, in near Mesopotamia, which is in modern-day Iraq, people were doing the same thing, except they had two rivers there. And they started to settle near these two rivers. Now, this civilization is considered the cradle of civilization. And we talked about why that was, because it was probably the early beginnings of civilization and the ones that first started to get it right. So, what does Justin Bieber have to do with this? Well, because the Mesopotamians were able to grow a lot of food and be very successful and start to build this big civilization, one of the most successful ones in the history of the world, they were able to actually come up with some great innovations that affect us today. That's where the whole Bieber thing ties in. And one of the things that they first came up with was the inventors of the written language. Now, written language, that's us writing stuff down, reading stuff, and all that stuff. Now, if it wasn't for the Mesopotamians, we wouldn't have written language. Maybe somebody else would have come up with it, but we wouldn't be able to read articles about how Justin Bieber's walking around shirtless, being just kind of a jerk to everybody. Yeah, we all love that. Thanks a lot, Mesopotamians, for that. But written language is very, very important. And in fact, it led to us being able to know about civilizations hundreds or thousands of years ago from where we are today. Now, before that, before written language, that was called a time the historians and archaeologists called was prehistory. It was the time before there was any written language or anything like that. So archaeologists have to kind of guess. Now, when people started to write things down, it made it a lot easier for us to figure out how life was thousands of years ago, and the Mesopotamians were responsible for this. So it's a pretty big deal, and it's a huge part of our life. Now, they also invented something called the wheel. You may have heard of it. I don't know. Pretty important thing. Most important to me is because I think of a wheel, I think of, those chairs with wheels on them. No, not wheelchairs. Those rolly chairs, like the one in the back of my room that everybody loves. to sit in. Yeah, those are pretty awesome because, I would think of the chair races that usually go on with the teachers while you guys are watching movies right before Christmas break. Wait, what? I wasn't supposed to tell them. Oh, they're not supposed to know about that. Ooh, okay. I can edit this out, right? Yeah, later. I'll just cut it out. No, they'll never know. Anyway, okay. Anyway, the thing that I think about are, of course, with wheels are cars and roller skates and all kinds of stuff. So those things are very important. Now you think, well, didn't the cave people, didn't they make wheels? No. The Mesopotamians were the first ones to start utilizing the wheel. Now, why is the wheel important? Well, it was a lot easier than dragging stuff around. Anything that they had that was very heavy, they either had to carry on their back or drag around. Once they started using the wheel, then they started making things like carts where they could haul things over long distances with a little bit of effort, using domesticated animals to pull them, and it was a lot easier. Plus, they also invented something called the chariot. Now, with most inventions, even today, some government always, or civilization always tries to find some good idea that is meant for something else, like the wheel, for example, and to carry heavy things and goods and things to be able to trade, and they always try to weaponize it. And that's what the Mesopotamians did, is that they actually created the chariot and used it in war. Why is that important? Well, if you're used to fighting wars on foot and you're running around, and then all of a sudden you see this guy in this cart being pulled around by a horse at a much faster speed than what you can run, it's easy for your enemy to surround you and conquer you easily. So the Mesopotamians had a great advantage. They also are believed to have come up with the idea for sailboats. Now, the Tigris and the Euphrates, of course, were rivers, and back in the ancient times, rivers were kind of like what highways are to us today, a place to travel up and down to be able to trade. Now, early on, we all know that rivers flow one way. Now, that's the easy part. You get in a boat, go down a river. If you've ever gone on a float trip, you float with the current of the river. Okay? As long as where you're going is downstream, you're good. But what if you need to get back home? It's a lot harder to paddle upstream. So these people figured out, hey, let's harness the power of the wind. Look at them going all green 5,000 years ago. And they were able to go back up the river using sailboats. Pretty sweet, huh? And then finally, fart jokes. Yes, the Mesopotamians are believed to be the inventors of fart jokes. How do we know this? Well, not too long ago, there were some artifacts that were discovered near some of the sites near Mesopotamia, and in some of the written language, which we would call cuneiform, we'll talk more about that a little bit later, they found actually the oldest known joke in the world. And yes, it was a fart joke. Everybody loves a good fart joke. Even 5,000 years ago. Who knew? But anyway, tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more about the written language, and eventually you will be able to learn how to write your name in the written language and kind of see how it wasn't the easiest thing in the world, as most things that are early on, kind of hard to do. So we'll talk about that soon, and you will take a trip back into the beautiful kitchen. I know you're so excited. I know you can't wait. Can't wait till next time. See ya.